2025, and we're probably going to complete our 12th chapter, Adi-lila, describing the expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. So we'll begin. Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Adadanastanam Rantiya Idam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupam Padambojo Dulishyam Janma Janmani Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunai Bharatino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Haripurata Sundara Butikadamba Sadipita Sada Kandare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandana Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe Nijana Rupe, Prabhu Eka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe. Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apetya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajahuva Putre Titam Maitayo Taravo Binedustam Sarvaputam Hridemonimanathosmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanastikatena Kati Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. Can you turn the fan down? What? Can you turn the fan down one? I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tadasara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya-lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tadasara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And unto our dearmost Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and to all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So we've been describing the manifestations or the expansions of all of Mahaprabhu's parikars, and we've been scrolling through this for the last 3 chapters we started off. And I'm just going to read a verse from the end of this chapter now that's describing the purpose of this, so we can bear this in mind as we're hearing all these divine personalities. So in text 92, I'll just read the translation. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, simply by remembering the names of these Vaishnavas, one can attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, simply by remembering their holy names, one achieves the fulfillment of all desires. So even if some of these names are fresh to us, new to us, we can understand that just by hearing these names, it's placing us in Mahaprabhu's Leela. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is so kind, or Madan Mohan is dictating to him in such a benevolent way to open out for the readers who are eager to hear the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, that the principal foundation are the parikars, the personalities who are with Mahaprabhu, because these personalities have only come to support Mahaprabhu and are giving us their support in our understanding of what Mahaprabhu has come to teach. For example, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, Sri Sanatan Goswami Pad, the 6 Goswamis in particular, but all these other personalities in their preaching places, in their Shripats, where they were from, they're influencing the whole villages and townships where they are about the specialities of Mahaprabhu. So just to remember these names, to hear these names, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying this is most auspicious and completely favorable for our connecting with Connecting with Mahaprabhu means connecting with that mood. Who is this personality? So we know the, facts about his life, etc. But his inner moods, his manobhishtam. What is his manobhishtam? So these are all coming through all the supporters of him. I mean, there were thousands of supporters. When we appreciate the Rath Yatra festival, where there were 7 parties, kirtan parties, surrounding Lord Jagannath's cart, and hundreds and hundreds of devotees in each party. So we're getting a little window into those personalities. And what is remarkable to really appreciate, they're all Nitya Siddha Parikas. They all have their identities in Krishna's Leela. Practically every one we've mentioned, they all have their identity there. So it's introducing us to a very wonderful entourage of Mahaprabhu, not just Mahaprabhu and some conditioned souls as his followers and devotees. No, these have all come from the spiritual world to, many on the order of Sri Radhika directly, because they're gopis. Many are gopis who are coming, we're hearing. Many are sakhas also, Nityananda's sakhas. So this is broadening our appreciation of the speciality of Mahaprabhu. And by hearing all these names, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati very mercifully telling us how to visit those places, which train to take, which station to get off, 1 mile from here on the right, etc., all the different temples. So many, many devotees have followed this up and gone through to visit all these places of pilgrimage. And we have one beautiful compilation, we can put it on the thread, all those books from Bengal that have been printed by one follower of Jayapataka Maharaj. He went with his wife to all these places, and they photographed and everything, and they've written extensive descriptions of the personalities and these places. So if you're doing that parikrama, you really need to get reference from this book. It's very, very, very helpful. So they went all over Bengal, from the top to the bottom, and we have that reference. So all this is supportive, what we're reading. This, and of course we're, at this point, we're appreciating Advaita Acharya and his expansions, and in a minute we'll go into Gadadhar Pandit. So this is where we're up to. So we're on 71?
Yes.
So verse 71.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Kevala Hi Ganaprata Nahe E Danda Chaitanya Vimukaye Seta Prasanda.
Translation. Not only the misguided descendants of Advaita Acharya, but anyone who is against the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should be considered an atheist, subject to punishment by Yamaraj. So in context, we're reading about those sons of Advaita Acharya who were not devotees. They were not in the same line. They were like Mayavad or Smarta line, or Shaktas. So 3 were devotees, 3 sons, and 3 were not. So this is what the previous verse said: a person without Krishna consciousness is no better than dry wood or a dead body. He is understood to be dead while living, and after death he is punishable by Yamaraj. So this was text 70. And before that, Lord Chaitanya did not sprinkle upon them the water of his mercy, and they gradually withered and died. Without the mercy of Mahaprabhu, how can that branch grow? So, text 72.
Ke pandita ke tapasvi kiba grihiyati Chaitanya Vimukaye Tara E Gati.
Be he a learned scholar, a great ascetic, a successful householder, or a famous sannyasi, one who is against the cult of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is destined to suffer the punishment meted out by Yamaraj. So Yamaraj gets mentioned in 3 verses, 3 consecutive verses. Yamaraj means basically punishment in hell. This is what it means. Text 73.
Ye Laila Shri Achutanandera Mata Se Acharya Gana Mahabhagavata.
Translation. The descendants of Advaita Acharya who accepted the path of Sri Achyutananda were all great devotees. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Amrita Prabha Bhasya, gives this short note. Sri Advaita Acharya is one of the important trunks of the Bhakti Kalpataru, or desired tree of devotional service. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a gardener, poured water on the root of the Bhakti tree and thus nourished all its trunks and branches. But nevertheless, under the spell of Maya, the most unfortunate condition of a living entity, some of the branches, not accepting the gardener who poured water on them, consider the trunk the only cause of the great Bhakti Kalpataru. In other words, the branches or descendants of Advaita Acharya who considered Advaita Acharya the original cause of the devotional kripa and who thus neglected or disobeyed the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, deprived themselves of the effect of being watered and thus dried up and died. In other words, if we thought that Advaita Acharya himself is that supreme Lord and we worship him separately as the Lord, not taking shelter of who he is worshipping, which is Mahaprabhu, it's like worshipping Lord Shivji. If we don't consider who is Shivji worshipping, Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu, he's worshipping that supreme Lord. He's worshipping Ram, or he's worshipping Sankarshan. This is who Shivji is worshipping. So we should follow those personalities. So we should follow Advaita Acharya. Who is he worshipping? Not that Advaita Acharya should be worshipped as God. So this is saying those persons who considered Advaita Acharya the original cause of the devotional kripa. So it's very, because Advaita Acharya was an older man and he performed many miraculous pastimes. Even in his childhood, you'll remember the pastime when the king of Bardman was insisting that he offer obeisances to the deity of Durgama, but he didn't want to do it because he knew that actually this is my consort. Advaita Acharya is Sadashiva as well as Mahavishnu, so it's not correct for him to offer to his consort. But nevertheless, at the continued insistence of that king and his father, Kuvera, his father's name was Kuvera, then Advaita Acharya, he offers dandavats and the deity explodes. And then Advaita Acharya disappears. So this is like miraculous. So if people follow this person as being God, which they might do for these types of acts that he performed, this is incorrect. It's like Virabhadra also, the son of Nityananda. He also performed a number of miracles. And if people proclaimed him to be a god separate from Mahaprabhu, or not in connection with Mahaprabhu, then this is not correct. So this is what it's saying here. In other words, the branches and descendants of Advaita Acharya who considered Advaita Acharya the original cause of the devotional kripa, and who thus neglected or disobeyed the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, deprived themselves of the effect of being watered and thus dried up and died. It is further to be understood that not only the misguided descendants of Advaita Acharya, but anyone who has no connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if he is independently a great sannyasi, learned scholar or ascetic, is like a dead branch of a tree. Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar. He's come at this time. He's come to benedict the world with his mercy. If anyone, whoever he is great, if he doesn't understand that, if he hasn't read or hasn't touched the Srimad Bhagavatam, if he hasn't associated with Vaishnavas, how can he be considered anyone of any standing particularly? He can't be. Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar. He is the one, not just the Yuga avatar, like in other ages, but the most extraordinary Yuga avatar, the one to actually give not just Krishna Prem, but Gopi Prem. for the Ashraya, those servants of Krishna, to get that prema ultimately of Radhika by serving Radhika. That is a whole nother quantum leap. We've said many times, prior to Mahaprabhu, Krishna was worshipped. Everyone was worshipping just Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Ram, Shringadev, Kalki, Kurma, etc., Matsya. But they weren't worshipping his Shakti, I've said many times. So Mahaprabhu has introduced us to this Shakti Tattva completely. And personalities like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described very clearly the position of Shakti Tattva. That Krishna himself only has two qualities, Svatantrata and Svaichamayita, complete freedom and complete independence. And Sri Radhika, Swarup Shakti, manifests all the worlds. She does everything completely. It's from her that the Sandini Shakti is manifesting. That means from her, the Baladev Prabhu is also manifesting. Everyone is manifesting ultimately from the energy of Krishna. The energy of Krishna is Sri Radhika. So we have to understand this deeply and not just worship anything separately to that. So this is a remarkable gift that has never been given before and will never be given again in this day of Lord Brahma. We are halfway through, basically, this day of Lord Brahma. And after a few thousand years, the memory of Mahaprabhu will be very less and it'll just diminish. People won't be able to accept Shakti in the same way again. So it's just this time frame, really. So there's an urgency here to catch it. This analysis by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, supporting the statements of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, depicts the position of the so-called Hindu religion, which being predominantly conducted by the Mayavad philosophy, depicts the position of the present so-called Hindu religion, which being predominantly conducted by the Mayavad philosophy, has become a hodgepodge institution of various concocted ideas. This is the Hindu generalized religion that we have today in India. In other words, all these different personalities and pilgrims we're seeing, if they don't understand Mahaprabhu, what do they understand? How many times have you sat by that Chaitanya Baitak and you've seen thousands of people just walk past? They have no idea who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. I told you the story the other day. I was sitting in that Chaitanya sitting place at Shamakund here in Radhakund, and two very respectable looking gentlemen were sitting in front of Mahaprabhu, and they asked me who he was. Is he some saint? Who is he? They have no idea, they have no education on it. So we are very fortunate in the Western world, because everyone in the Western world, the Vaishnavas, have come through the channel of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, through his teachings and writings. And there he's most prominently giving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or through the teachings of my Gurudev, he's prominently giving Mahaprabhu. But if you're here in India and these teachings haven't been broadcast in your village or town, how will you ever know who is Mahaprabhu? Yeah, just another philosopher, another God-man. There are so many of them. So it's tragic, really. They're missing the whole weight of mercy that Mahaprabhu is able to benedict. But Mahaprabhu will somehow catch them. Somehow he will catch them. We must speak to them. We must make little books, etc., distribute them. It's our job. Otherwise, what is our value of our life if we don't have a focus to support Mahaprabhu's movement? This is our life. Mayavadis greatly fear the Krishna consciousness movement and accuse it of spoiling the Hindu religion because it accepts people from all parts of the world and all religious sects and scientifically engages them in Daiva Varnashram Dham. They don't like the idea. They want to be very exclusive, like the Brahmanas want to be exclusive. So why? So that they can get more material benefits, which indicates they are completely on the material bodily platform. It means they haven't understood the initial precepts of Bhagavad Gita. The Dehinoshmin Yata Dehi, Komaram Yavaram Jana, that this body is just moving through its temporary stages and then will dwindle and die, but the soul, Jivera Suruphoy, Krishnera Nitita, will never die. And if we focus on the eternal soul and its service to the Lord, and Mahaprabhu is giving these teachings, not only that, that's the initial one, that's the first one, that's like Shuddha Bhakti, but he's doing much more than that. He's giving us Sri Radha, he's giving us Shakti Tattva, he's giving us Gopi Tattva. Already we've had that in the 4th chapter here. So Mahaprabhu's gifts are just astounding and revolutionary. It's described that Mahaprabhu was the greatest non-conformist preacher ever to exist. He completely broke the box on all conformity. First of all, by allowing the Harijan, the lower castes, to chant, etc., to understand these teachings, and by giving this understanding of Shakti Tattva. Without understanding Shakti, we've just understood part of the equation. Shakti is doing everything, but we go back into Satya Yuga, for example, or we go back, Satya Yuga, and who were they worshipping? Parashuram. They're worshipping Vaikuntanath. They're worshipping Paramatma. They're worshipping Ishvara. All these great, if you go in South India today, it's mostly all worship of Vishnu devatas everywhere. It's very wonderful and very conducive to goodness and so on, and very dharmic. But this point, what we said many times, of understanding Shakti, and even beyond that, understanding Parakya. Parakya is the highest conception, because Parakya leads us into Vrindavan. If you don't appreciate, if you haven't assimilated this Parakya ras, if you don't understand it clearly, how respectable it is. Arundhati, the most respectable personality in Swagaloka, Saraswati, Parvati, Lakshmi Devi herself, all worship Sri Radha. Anasuya, the most chaste lady in existence, she's worshipping Sri Radha. How can there be any fault in Radha's love of Parakya, leaving her moral wedded husband and running with enthusiasm to Krishna, leaving all material consideration behind it all? Mabhajan ye jara shrinkala samvishchaya tadva yati yata pratuna. Is na paryeham niravadya samyujam swasalu kritpam vidusyapicha ya mabhajam durja geha shrinkala. They've left everything. So this is an example of full Sharanagat, beyond Sharanagat, because they leave their reputation, their chastity, they leave everything. Their desire for anything in this material world at all left behind, because of their depth, of their utter attraction for Krishna. This has never been heard of before, never been considered, how much they have attraction for Krishna. They're ready to die for Krishna. Materially, they have died, because for a woman in India to give up her chastity, it's like entering fire, isn't it? Especially for a young woman. To leave her husband, her reputation completely, because they don't know that Yogamaya is going to arrange for replicas to take their place. They don't know that. They simply know how much they are attracted to Krishna. Ultimately, tattvically, we know that they're Krishna's Shaktis. They're all Krishna's Shaktis. But they're not knowing that. They're covered by Yogamaya, like Krishna is covered himself, thinking that he can... Krishna is Sarvagya, knowing everything, and Mugdata, he doesn't know anything. At the same time, he's just the young prince of Braj, the son of the king of Braj, Nanda, relishing his leelas. So all these things are not so easy to absorb for the general village person of India. if you're going, you have to go and sit for quite some time to educate them, to unpack all these things on the Amnaya of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first 9 cantos are just declaring that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's only when you come to the 10th canto, and only halfway through, or chapter 21 from the Venu Gita, do we begin to actually open up about the gopis. Prior to that, it's just Krishna, Balya-lila, Poganda-lila, performing his pastimes, beautiful pastimes in Braj. But this dynamic of the gopis' attraction, but everyone in Braj, of course, is attracted to Krishna. All the rasas are there. 12 rasas are manifesting. But this had not been given previously. It began with Madhavendra Puri, and then Ishwara Puri. It hadn't been given previously. Jayadev Goswami couldn't give this. So, as we have explained several times, however, we find no such word as Hindu in the Vedic literature. The word most probably came from Afghanistan, a predominantly Muslim country, and originally referred to a pass in Afghanistan known as Hindu Kush, which is still part of a trade route between India and various Muslim countries. Excuse me. The actual Vedic system of religion is called Varnashram Dharma, as confirmed in the Vishnu Purana. Varnashramacharya Vata Purusena Paraha Pumam Vishnu Aradyate Panta Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. The Vedic literature recommends that a human being follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Accepting the process of Varnashram Dharma will make a person's life successful because this will connect him with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the goal of human life. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted to really implement this. He tried very hard, but he didn't really manage this with the farming communities, etc. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for all of humanity. So this is revolutionary. Previously, the Shastras were all in Sanskrit. Bhaktivinoda Thakur began to break them into Bengali. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has given them in English. Even the most fallen barbarians now can read the Vedic literatures and can even perform Vedic sacrifices and yajna. This was Mahaprabhu's idea. This was what Mahaprabhu wanted. He wanted that every town and village have access to hearing the holy name of the Lord and obviously knowing what it means. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for all of humanity. Although human society has different sections or subdivisions, all human beings belong to one species, and therefore we accept that they all have the ability to understand their constitutional position in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. All souls are connected. It's called Vibhinamsa. We are all separated parts of Krishna, all of us. It's not that some are and some aren't. Or the cats, the dogs, the trees, everything. All living entities are connected. So we should not discriminate. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms, Jivara Sarup Hoy Krishnara Nityadas. Every living entity is an internal part, an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every living entity who attains the human form of life can understand the importance of his position and thus become eligible to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. We take it for granted, therefore, that all humanity should be educated in Krishna consciousness. It's education that is lacking. Dramatically, education. So wherever we are in life, whatever we've understood, all of us can write something or speak something or sing something or somehow in our own ways distribute this movement, these ideas in the world, this will be the greatest devotion to Krishna. Krishna will reciprocate 1,000 times by us doing this. Indeed, in all parts of the world, in every country where we preach the Sankirtan movement, we find that people very easily accept the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without hesitation. The visible effect of this chanting is that the members of the Hare Krishna movement, regardless of their backgrounds, all give up the 4 principles of sinful life and come to an elevated standard of devotion. Yesterday I was reading one book by Shama Sundar Prabhu, one of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's very, very, very first disciples. And he's describing the deplorable condition of his consciousness prior to meeting Prabhupada, and the drug scene in San Francisco, and how all these hippies, not knowing absolutely anything about anything, and all of a sudden the couples are being told to get married, and then Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is initiating them, and he makes a fire. They've never seen anything like this before in their lives. And they're given bananas to put in the fire, so they start to peel them, thinking that they're going to eat them. So this is their ignorance. And then Prabhupada says, bow down, but they can't understand his words. And it sounds like bow down. So one of them starts to blow the fire. Then they think, oh, we should all blow the fire. So they all start blowing the sacrificial fire in front of Prabhupada. Can you imagine how tolerant this Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was? He's sitting there performing this first sacrifice in San Francisco, and all these crazies are blowing on the sacrificial fire. If you blow even on a flame, the devotees don't even blow on a candle. What to speak of the sacrificial fire? So you've got 20 devotees strongly blowing on the fire. So what is Prabhupada thinking? How tolerant, how compassionate. He just picks up his cartels and said, please chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. And the power of this chanting Hare Krishna transformed them. We see, just over a period of what, 50 odd years, 60 years, completely transformed, easily following the 4 regulative principles, even going further. So whatever we do in regards to trying to help and educate the people can only bring success. And we should remember the tolerance and patience of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada always, what he tolerated to spread this mission. Yes, regardless of their backgrounds, all give up the 4 principles of sinful life and come to an elevated standard of devotion. After posing as great scholars, just because we had such sinful background doesn't mean that it actually demonstrates, just like Jagai and Madai, are demonstrations of the power of Mahaprabhu. These 2 personalities were absolute reprobates. They had murdered, they had pillaged, they had raped, they had everything they had done. There was no sin. When Yamaraj is talking to his scribe Gupta, he asks, how many sins have these 2 committed? And Gupta is saying, my hand has grown weary. I can't write any more sins. There's just so many, so many, so many. And all of these sins have just been wiped out in a moment, principally by the chanting of the holy name. So this is the power of Mahaprabhu. This is why he's not an ordinary avatar. After posing as great scholars, ascetics, householders, and swamis, the so-called followers of the Hindu religion are all useless, dried up branches of the Vedic religion. They are impotent. They cannot do anything to spread the Vedic culture for the benefit of human society. The essence of the Vedic culture is the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya instructed, Yare Daka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh.
Amara Agnya Guru Hana Tare Idesh. Every person that we see, we should instruct them about Krishna, and we should become like Guru to the Krishna. This doesn't mean that you have to sit on a big seat and be adored by thousands of people. It means you have to take responsibility for instructing that person. It means you have to be responsible yourself to be following those principles. If you are following those principles strongly, then that person will hear your instruction. But if you're compromising yourself, they will never hear them. So it's both ways. We must be also purified to speak these words. One should simply instruct everyone he meets regarding the principle of Krishna Katha, as expressed in Bhagavad Gita as it is. The Srimad Bhagavatam, and one who has no interest in Krishna Katha or the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like dry, useless wood with no living force. The ISKCON branch, being directly watered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is becoming undoubtedly successful. And we've said before, who is the Adi Guru of the ISKCON branch is Lord Brahma. Who is the Adi Guru of all the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's Lord Brahma. Whether we're in that particular society or not that particular society, we are still in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is a worldwide mission. It's not exclusively one particular party with particular sectarian rules or everything. I've told before, this sectarian mentality is the greatest disease or the greatest enemy of truth. And becoming undoubtedly accepted, whereas the disconnected branches of the so-called Hindu religion that are envious of ISKCON are drying up and dying. So always bear in mind, this commentary was written 55 years ago. Things have actually evolved dramatically since this time, as far as the society of devotees is concerned. Text 74. Se acharya kripara bhajana anayase pailase chaitanya charana. Translation: by the mercy of Advaita Acharya, the devotees who strictly followed the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet without difficulty. Text 75. Achuteraye mata se mata sar arayata mata sava hoile chakara. Translation: it should be concluded, therefore, that the path of Achyutananda is the essence of spiritual life. Those who did not follow this path simply scattered. Text 76. Se acharya gane more kota namaskar Achyutananda praya chaitanya jivan yanahar. Translation: I therefore offer my respectful obeisances millions of times to Achyutananda's actual followers, whose life and soul was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 77. Eta kahilana charya goshanira gana tina skandas sakaras kaile sakshepe ganana. Translation: thus I have briefly described the three branches, Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra, and Gopal, of Sri Advaita Acharya's descendants. Text 78. Saka upasaka tara nahika ganana kichu matra kahikara digdara shana. Translation: there are multifarious branches and sub-branches of Advaita Acharya. It is very difficult to enumerate them fully. I have simply given a glimpse of the whole trunk and its branches and sub-branches. Text 79. Shri Gadadhara Pandit Sakate Mahotama Tanhar Upasaka Kichu Kariye Ganana. Translation: after describing the branches and sub-branches of Advaita Acharya, I shall now attempt to describe some of the descendants of Shri Gadadhar Pandit, the most important among the branches. Sakka Shrestha Durvananda Shrida Brahmacharya Bhagavatacharya Hari Dasa Brahmacharya. Translation: the chief branches of Gadadhar Pandit were Sri Dhruvananda, 2. Sri Sridhar Brahmachari, 3. Haridas Brahmachari, and 4 Raghunath Bhagavat Acharya. Purport. Text 152 of the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika describes Sri Dhruvananda Brahmachari as an incarnation of Lalita, and text 194 and 199 describe Sridhar Brahmachari as the gopi known as Chandra Latika. So this Dhruvananda is carrying the same mood as Lalita Sakhi. Lalita Sakhi, we know, is Swarup Damodar. So that mood of Lalita Sakhi can also manifest in the heart of another pure, sincere devotee. This Dhruvananda we hear in connection with the Jagannath deity we described the other day. We posted a picture of Dhruvananda. And this Dhruvananda is in that village, I think it's called Mahesh. I can't remember the name of the village, but we've discussed it already. And I sent some pictures, some photos in the previous chapter we were describing. And Dhruvananda took this, discovered this deity of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra floating in the Ganga, and he manifested that temple. And he's very well known for that act. But now we're hearing his identity as an incarnation of Lalita. But don't think that minimizes the aspect of Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar is a complete manifestation of Lalita Sakhi. So I don't know more than that about him being an incarnation of Lalita. And Sridhar Brahmachari is a gopi called Chandralatika. Text 81. Anantaracharya Kavidata Mishra Nayana Ganga Mantri Mamutako Kanta Abharana. Translation. The 5th branch was Ananta Acharya, the 6th Kavidatta, the 7th Nayani Mishra, and the 8th Ganga Mantri, the 9th Mamutako, and the 10th Kanta Bharana. Purport. Text 197 and 207 of the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika describe Kavidatta as the gopi named Kalakanti. Text 96 and 207 describe Nayani Mishra as the gopi named Nitya Manjari. And text 96 and 205 describe Ganga Mantri as the gopi named Chandrika. Mamutako, whose real name was Jagannath Chakravarti, was the nephew of Nilambar Chakravarti Thakur. Nilambara Chakravarti, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grandfather. In Bengal, a maternal uncle is called Mama, and in East Bengal and Orissa, Mamu. Thus, Jagannath Chakravarti was known as Mama or Mamu Thakur. Mamu Thakur's residence was in the district of Faridapur, in the village known as Magdoba. After the demise of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, Mamu Thakur became the priest in charge of the temple known as Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. According to the opinion of some Vaishnavas, Mamu Thakur was formerly known as Sri Rupa Manjari. So we have Lalita and Sri Rupa Manjari remanifesting their potencies after Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami. The followers of Mamu Thakur were Raghunath Das Goswami, Ramchandra, Radha Ballabh, Krishna Jivana, Shyama Sundara, Shantamani, Harinath, Naveen Chandra, Matilala, Deva Mayi, Kunjabihari. Kantaharana, whose original name was Sri Ananta Chaturaj, was a gopi named Gopali in Krishna Lila. So as we discussed in the beginning, all of these personalities are coming straight from Krishna Lila. This supports our understanding of who is Mahaprabhu. He's Krishna. He's non-different to Krishna. So all these personalities are eternally with Krishna. So they're coming like this. Text 82. Burgabo Goshani Ara Bhagavata Das Edui Ashe Koile Vrindavana Das. The 11th branch of Gadadhar Goswami was Burgaba Goswami, and the 12th branch and the 12th was Bhagavat Das. Both of them went to Vrindavan and resided there for life. Purport. Burgaba Goswami, formerly known as Prema Manjari, was a great friend of Lokanath Goswami. This is his eternal name, Prema Manjari. That is Burgaba Manjari. Lokanath Goswami is Manjulali Manjari, who constructed the temple of Gokulananda, one of the 7 important temples of Vrindavan, namely those of Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Radharaman, Shyamasundar, Radha Damodar, and Gokulananda, which are authorized institutions of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. These are the 7 principal temples.
Gosai is the same one when we go to Radha Damodar.
Yes, he's there.
Small,
He's sitting in Radha Damodar today. Burgaba Goswami has his sitting place, his samadhi, is in the Radha Damodar temple today. Huh? Not, it's only Radha Damodar. He's not in Imritam.
Where now the Panch Tattva is installed just opposite to that.
It's in Radha Damodar where Burgaba, who we're talking about. Not Lokanath Goswami is in the Gokulananda temple. He's the main person in the courtyard of the Gokulananda, and he's facing Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das, Ganga Narayan is there. So, text 83. Vaninatha Brahmachari Bada Mahashai Valavaja Caitanya Dasa Krishna Prema Mai. The 13th branch was Vaninath Brahmachari, and the 14th was Vallabha Chaitanya Das. Both of these great personalities were always filled with love of Krishna. Purport. Sri Vaninath Brahmachari is described in the 10th chapter of verse 114 of the Adi-lila. A disciple of Vallabha Chaitanya named Nalini Mohan Goswami established a temple of Madan Gopal in Navadvip. So that's Vaninath Brahmachari, who is actually the brother of Gadadhar himself, Vaninath. Text 84. Srinath Chakravarti Ara Udava Dasa Jitam Mitra Kashtakata Jagannatha Das. Translation. The 15th branch was Srinath Chakravarti, the 16th Uddhav, the 17th Jita Mitra, and the 18th Jagannath Das. Purport. Srila Siddhanti Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, the Sakka Nirnaya, verse 13, mentions Srinath Chakravarti as a reservoir of all good qualities and an expert in the service of Lord Krishna. Similarly, verse 35 mentions Uddhava Das as being greatly qualified in distributing love of Godhead to everyone. The Gaura Ganadesh Deepika 202 mentions Jita Mitra as the gopi named Shyama Manjari. Jitamrita wrote a book entitled Krishna Maya Yura. Jagannath Das was a resident of Vikrampur, near Dhaka. His birthplace was the village known as Kastakata or Katadia. His descendants now reside in villages known as Adiyal, Kamarapad, and Paikapad. He established a temple of Yashomadhav. The worshippers of this temple are the Goswamis of Adiyala. As one of the 64 Sakhis, he was formerly an assistant of Chitra Devi Gopi named Tilakini. The following is the list of his descendants: Ramnashringa, Ramagopal, Ramchandra, Sanatan, Muktaram, Gopinath, Golok, Harimohan, Siromani, Rakhalaraj, Madhava, and Lakshmi Kanta. The Sakka Nirnaya mentions that Jagannath Das preached the Hare Krishna movement in the district or state of Tripura. So I have one dear friend in Tripura, if he's listening tonight, he can consider that Madhava and Lakshmi Kanta is mentioning that Jagannath Das preached in Tripura. Text 85. Shri Hari Acharya Sadi Puriya Gopala Krishna Dasa Brahmacharya Pushpa Gopala. Translation. The 19th branch was Sri Hari Acharya, the 20th Sadi Puriya Gopal, the 21st Krishnadas Brahmachari, and the 22nd Pushpa Gopal. Purport. The Gora Ganadesh Deepika 196-207 mentions that Hari Acharya was formerly the gopi named Kalakshi. Sadipuri Gopal is celebrated as a preacher of the Hare Krishna movement in Vikrampur in East Bengal, now Bangladesh. Krishnadas Brahmachari was formerly among the group of Sakis known as the Astasakis. His name was Indulekha. Krishnadas Brahmachari lived in Vrindavan. There is a tomb, Samadhi, in the Radha Damodar temple known as Krishnadas's tomb. Some say that this is the Samadhi of Krishnadas Brahmachari, and others say it is that of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. In either case, we offer our respects because both of them are expert in distributing love of Godhead to the fallen souls of this age. Saki Nirnayan mentions that Pushpa Gopal was formerly known as Swarna Gramaka. Text 86. Shri Harsha Raghu Mishra Pandita Lakshminath Bhagavati Caitanya Dasa Sri Raghunath. Translation. The 23rd branch was Sri Harsa, the 24th Raghu Mishra, the 25th Lakshminath Pandit, the 26th Bhagavati Caitanya Das, and the 27th Raghunath. Purport. Raghu Mishra is described in the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika 195-201 as Karpura Manjari. Similarly, Lakshminath Pandit is mentioned as Rasomad, and Bhagavati Caitanya Das is mentioned as Kali. The Saka Nirnaya states that Bhagavati Caitanya Das was always seen with eyes full of tears. He also had a branch of descendants. Their names of Mathura Prasad, Rukmini Kanta, Jivana Krishna, Yugal Kishore, Ratna Krishna, Rama Madhav, Usamani, Vaikuntanath, and Lala Mohan or Lala Mohan, Saha Sankirnidi. Lala Mohan was a great merchant in the city of Dhaka. The Gaura Ganadesh Deepika 194-200 mentions that Raghunath was formerly Varangada, who I think is a cowherd boy of Baladev, but I'm not sure about that. I have to check. Text 87. Amoga Pandita Hasti Gopal Chaitanya Valabha Yadu Ganguli Ara Mangala Vaishnava. Translation. The 28th branch was Amoga Pandit, the 29th Hasti Gopal, the 30th Chaitanya Balab, and the 31st Yadu Ganguli, and the 32nd Mangala Vaishnava. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anabhasya, Sri Mangal Vaishnava was a resident of the village Titakarna in the district of Murshidabad. His forefathers were Shaktas who worshipped the goddess Kirteshwari. It is said that Mangala Vaishnava, formerly a staunch brahmachari, left home and later married the daughter of his disciple Prananath Adhikar in the village of Mayandala. The descendants of this family are known as the Thakurs of Kandahar, which is a village in the district of Burdman near Katwa. Scattered descendants of Mangala Vaishnava, 36 families altogether, still live there. Among the celebrated disciples of Mangala Thakur are Prananath Adhikar, Purushottam Chakravarti of the village of Kandahar, and Nrsinga Prasad Mitra, whose family members are well-known mridanga players. Sudha Krishna Mitra and Nikunja Vihar Mitra are both especially famous mridanga players. In the family of Purushottam Chakravarti, there are famous persons like Kunja Vihari Chakravarti and Radha Ballabha Chakravarti, who now live in the district of Birban. They professionally recite songs from Chaitanya Mangal. It is said that when Mangal Thakur was constructing a road from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, he found a deity of Radha Ballabh while digging a lake. At that time, he was living in the locality of Kandahar, in the village named Ranipur. The Shalagram Shila, personally worshipped by Mangal Thakur, still exists in the village of Kandahar. A temple has been constructed there for the worship of Vrindavan Chandra. Mangala Thakur had 3 sons, Radhika Prasad, Gopi Ramana, and Shyama Kishore. The descendants of the 3 sons are still living. Text 88. Text 88. Chakravati Shivananda Sada Brajeshvasi Mahashaka Madhya Tenhu Surita Vishwasi. Translation. Shivananda Chakravarti, the 33rd branch, who always lived in Vrindavan with firm conviction, is considered an important branch of Gadadhar Pandit. Purport. Sri Gaura Ganadesh Deepika 183 mentions that Shivananda Chakravarti was formerly Lavanga Manjari. So we know also Lavanga Manjari is Sanatan Goswami. So there are 2 Lavanga Manjaris, 2 Lalita Sakis. The Saka near Naya, written by Yadunandan Das, also names other branches of Gadadhar Pandit as follows: 1. Madhavacharya, 2. Gopal Das, 3. Hridayananda, 4. Ballabha Bhatta. The Ballabha Sampradaya or Pustimag Sampradaya is very famous. 5. Madhu Pandit. This famous devotee lived near Kandahar, in the village known as Sanibon Gram, about 2 miles east of the Kandahar station, and constructed the temple of Gopinathji in Vrindavan. 6. Achyutananda. 7. Chandrasekhar. 8. Vakrashra Pandit. 9. Damodar. 10. Bhagavanacharya. 11. Ananta Acharya Varya. 12. Krishnadas. 13. Paramananda Brahmachari. 14. Bhavananda Goswami. 15. Chaitanya Das. 16. Lokanath Bhatta. This devotee, who lived in the village of Talakandi in the district of Yasodhar, Jaiswal, and constructed the temple of Radha Vinod, was the spiritual master of Narottam Das Thakur and a great friend of Burgaba Goswami. 17. Govinda Acharya. 18. Akrura Thakur. 19. Sanket Acharya. 20. Pratipaditya. 21. Kamalakanta Acharya. 22. Yadav Acharya. And 23. Narayan Padihari, a resident of Jagannath Puri. Text 89. Eta sangshepe kahilan panditera gana aiche arasaka upasakara ganana. Translation. Thus I have briefly described the branches and sub-branches of the Gadadhar Pandit. There are still many more that I have not mentioned here. Text 90. Panditera gana sabha bhagavatanaya pranabalava sabara Shri Krishna Chaitanyaya. Translation. As the followers of Gadadhar Pandit are considered great devotees because they have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. All the followers of Gadadhar Pandit are considered great devotees because they have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. Text 91. Edina skandera kilon sakara ganana yan sabha smarane bhava bandha virmochana. Translation. Simply by remembering the names of all these branches and sub-branches of the three trunks I have described, Nityananda, Advaita, and Gadadhar, one attains freedom from the entanglement of material existence. This is the falshuti of hearing these chapters. One is going to attain freedom from material existence. Text 92. Yan sabha smarane bhai Caitanya charana, yan sabha smarane hoya vanchita purana. Translation: simply by remembering the names of all these Vaishnavas, one can attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, simply by remembering their holy names, one achieves the fulfillment of all desires. Text 93. Attaiva tan sabara vandiya charana, Chaitanya malira kahe lila anukrama. Translation: therefore, offering my obeisances at the lotus feet of them all, I shall describe the pastimes of the garden of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in chronological order. Text 54. Gora lilamrita sindhu apara agada, ke karite paratahan avaga sada. Translation: the ocean of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is immeasurable and unfathomable. Who can have the courage to measure that great ocean? Text 95. Tahara madhya gande labhu hoyaman, ataiva tata rahi chaki eka kan. It is not possible to dip into that great ocean, but its sweet mellow fragrance attracts my mind. I therefore stand on the shore of that ocean to try to taste but a drop of it. 96. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yare Asha, Caitanya Caritamrta Adi-lila Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Shri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. So that concludes chapter 13. And tomorrow we'll begin chapter 14. Oh, chapter 12, sorry. And tomorrow we'll begin the Advent. So now we've made the foundation, so to speak. We've set the scene. Yes. So, yes, tomorrow we'll begin with the Advent of this divine scripture. So now it's taken 12 chapters to make such a foundation. We've had the spiritual masters, we've had Mahaprabhu established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we've had the external reasons for his appearance, the internal reasons for his appearance. Then we have the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. Then we have the glories of Advaita Acharya. Then we have the 5 features of Mahaprabhu. This is chapter 7. This is in Varanasi, defeating the Mayavads. And then we have chapter 8, where the Lord, or where Krishnadas Kaviraj receives the order from all the Vaishnavas and gets confirmation from Madan Mohan to actually write this scripture. And then we begin these 4 chapters describing all the devotees. The first, chapter 9, is the tree of devotional service itself. The next is the trunk, the branches, and the sub-branches of the Chaitanya tree. The next are the expansions of Nityananda, and the next is the expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. So these 4 chapters come together. So this is the structure that Krishnadas Kaviraj has erected for it. And now for the next 5 chapters, we're going to be discussing Mahaprabhu's Advent, his Balya-lila, his Poganda-lila, and the pastimes in his youth. So these next 5 chapters are very sweet and blissful. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai. Go Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. Shri Gurudev Ki Jai.